Hi class, welcome to IS 371. I'm Professor Fahmi Jalani. Today we covering chapter 7, where we take a look at how to design, um, organize, implement, and maintain IT security policy. We take a look at some of the standard core principle, implementing the libraries, policy change across the board, the drivers, the business drivers, and the best practices. So, for policies and standard design consideration, technically a document have to be worded clearly. Several questions you need to address is who, what, where, when, and how. It has to be concise and precise. Also, to recognize the belief that how whatever is written and how it's going to influence, and what are the controls needed. So let's take a look at a diagram for the four basic operation for business. So you have here diversity, coordinated, replicated, and unify. The diversity basically low in service and low in integration. Okay. These are basically low level standard for security. Okay. Moving up, we have coordinated with low standard and high integration. Okay, we will take a look at later on in detail. Replicate is basically high standard and low integration. Basically replicating from existing or best practice security policy, and also lastly unify. So in policy and standard development, there's a total of 17 points that we have to take a look. Okay. Which are basically in terms of accountability. These are basically personal responsibility of information, system security should be implicit. Some role in the organization are accountable only for the work they perform daily. Okay, other roles are accountable to their own work plus all the work performed by their team employees. It also helps ensure people understand they are solely responsible for the action they take, while organization resources basically it's a form of tyranny control. Next, awareness, referring to the owners, provider, user of IS, and existence of the general context, policy, responsibility, practices, procedure, organization for the security of the IS, and basically a stakeholder with policy that they are not aware of. Moving along is ethics. Okay, ethics. The way informations are designed, okay, level of access to data reflected the security controls should operate in accordance with the organization ethical standard, level of disclosure and access of customer data, and also entrench the organization culture in order to be effective. Next, we have multidisciplinary. These are basically policy library document written by to consider everyone affected, okay, including technical, administrative, HR, organization, operation, commercial, education, and legal. Proportionality. So these are basically security level, cost, practices, procedure should be appropriate to uh, proportionate to the value of the data and the degree of reliance to the system. For example, you are handling customer data. Okay. They should be also promptly to the potential severity, probability, and the harm to the system. Uh, um, so technically, you you don't spend like say $1,000 to protect a $500 worth of asset. And so integration, basically the documents should be connected and integrated with each other. They should also be integrated with other relevant measures, practices, and procedure that coherence the system of security. And the next point, we have defense in depth. This is basically security increases, okay, as you implement in series overlapping layers countermeasures that provide three elements of security: prevention, detection, response. And it could be both military concept and IS concept. Defense step, security mechanism by layers, so the weakness of one mechanism can counter the strength of two or more mechanism. This is a core security concept. For example, you have a physical security. In this case, excuse me, in terms of, for example, the physical building where only authorized personnel are allowed to enter the building, for example, followed up by fingerprinting, for example, ID passes, and as the user or the employee enters the building, they can use their own username, password to access the system. So those are technically different steps. Timeless, personal assigned agent, third party provider should act in timely and coordinated manners to prevent any response to breaches of security where for example contractors, subcontractors to the organization needs to work hand in hand. Reassessing, I should be periodically, constantly checked in terms of risk, daily, periodically, and what the requirement, keep currently changes, updating the software. Privacy principle, security of IS should secure the private information of the system. In other words, putting the privacy rights, okay, not at risk. Internal controls refers to security form, okay, regulation mandates, and be placed in operational correctly. Organization rely on technology to maintain business record, which is quite typical today. And internal control mechanism maintain integrity, represent through picture of the organization activity. Adversary control security strategies, architecture, policy library document should be developed and implemented, okay, in anticipation of attack from intelligent, rational, irrational adversary, and also could be also categorized as a threat assessment. Next, we have also least privilege principle. People should be granted only enough privileges to accomplish assignment, tasks, and no more. For example, read only document, for example, okay, no downloading or installing of other software. Separation of duty, principle, responsibility, and privilege should be divided to prevent people from a small group collaborating people from inappropriate controlling multiple key aspects, causing harm. For example, accounting department, the person preparing invoices for payment should not be the same person writing the checks and payment. Continuity, identify from the company the needs of disaster recovery and continual operation. For example, backing up your database every day, doing maintenance to the network. Simplicity principle, try to favor small, simple safeguard over large, complex one. Obviously, security should not be oversimplified. And last but not least, policy-centered security, where procedure should be established as a formal basis for managing planning, control, evaluation, and information security activity. Some other aspects to take note, basically risk identification. Try to identify the risks and mitigate them. Legal compliance, comply to any legal and regulatory requirements, and also practicality, which is policy that could be implemented and enforced on a daily basis. Moving along, we have importance of transparency with regards to customer data. So we have here we have P2. This is basically information that identifies a specific person, something that use alone or special name person, or non-MPI, non-public information. This is basically an act by Gramm-Leach and Bailey, where it's more specific for financial sector. So in terms of individual participation, says you need a consent. There must be a transparency with regards to handling customer data, okay, from the customer. Describe purposely the permits and collection of P2, okay. Data minimization, okay. Only necessary data collected. Limitation, okay. In terms of types of control and policy standard, we have administrative, technical, and physical. These are basically for example, pre-employment screening, antivirus system, firewall, physical, I mentioned earlier, fences, security guard, locks, and sometimes could be a token in order to access the in terms of remote. So in terms of preventive control, okay, network access, firewall, motion detectors, remove a virus, firewall, backup tapes. Okay, those are basically the types of control. In terms of documentation, we know that there's many types of document libraries, okay, and in terms of numbering, okay, you create your own. If let's say you decide to follow the international standard or ISO IEC 27002 taxonomy. So we take a look at an example here. The next diagram here we see a figure or diagram of the program level policy, framework, control standard, baseline, and procedure of the library taxonomy. So in event, let's say you take a look at the access control point, which we will zoom in. So it consists of 4 subcategory: identification, authentication, password, authorization, and also audit. This is basically how it's been categorized. And if let's say we focus on 820 password management, which could be further categorized as baseline standard, password management, Windows, and also Unix. Okay. And also we have additional branches. In this case, 830, which is authorization user for resources, and here we have the guidelines. Some of the consideration that you need to take a look or to consider is in terms of building consensus intent, okay, review approval document, publication document, and awareness and training. So review and approval, okay, all documents needs to go to be reviewed, technical personnel, legal, HR, and also audit compliance. And also if there's any changes, you need to go to a board, for example, okay, which is CCB or change control board, where the board advisor will get consensus to change any policy, okay. And each security is with prior implementation has been thoughtfully discussed, and the cause and effect, for example, oversight, and usually senior leaders are the one more responsible in the committee. Things to take note, okay, the access of the policy standard, request for change, okay, the support, mission and goal, review framework, okay, and the change management. Business drivers, okay, we have business exception, innovation, technology innovation, strategy changes, legal changes, and also regulatory changes, which are constantly updated. And all this has to be maintained in the library. For example, major revision and also minor revision. Example, new requirements and clarifying, for example, the new meaning. In terms of best practices, okay, we have in this case what's the base decision of the IS policy, establish cohesive, coherent documents, templates, collaboration tool, and repeatable process. So in best practice, so we have publish the library, need to be transparent, use different type of communication, awareness, media, in terms of consistency and easy to understand. Also establish policy, public changes, control board, and also lesson learned. Let's take a look at some case study example. Private sector 1. Here we have Cyprus Shipping Chamber. They basically wanted to address the security requirements of smart shipping. They use subset, a template, using scenario and facility related to development. Public sector 2, AIM, basically needed to improve their diligence, expand security corporate, did a performance risk, plan, do check, ISO International Standard 27, 2001. And last but not least, they have public sector, California Office of State, Chief Information Officer issue a new policy, ensure users are trained and also make sure they are compliant. So that's pretty much it for the class today. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. Thanks. Bye.